So far, we've learned that pirates aren't the brightest people in the world. But attacking a US Navy with a small boat and a few rifles? Come on! Let's take a look at 12 times when Somali pirates thought it was a good idea to mess with the strongest military powers in the world. Some lost their lives and some were imprisoned while being only 15 years old. Let's dive into it. Number 1. Maltese-flagged MV Ruan. On December 14th, 2023-6, Somali pirates hijacked a Maltese-flagged MV Ruan along with 18 members of its crew 240 kilometers off Somalia's coast. Immediately upon noticing unknown faces climbing on the ship, crew sent a Mayday message on the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations portal, indicating that 6 unknown people had boarded the vessel. The best thing crew members can do in such a situation is lock themselves in a safe room, and that's exactly what the crew of MV Ruan did, but only for hijackers to break into the safe room and kick them out. The Indian Navy responded to the distress call by sending its anti-piracy patrol warship and maritime patrol aircraft. Not long after being under pirate command, one crew member managed to find his way out of captivity thanks to the need of medical care, leaving behind 17 crewmates. He was transported to an Indian Navy ship that had been shadowing the Ruan, and pirates began feeling like they're losing. But in reality, pirates were a few steps ahead of the military, so much that they managed to spend over 3 months on the ship before finally being raided by the Indian Navy. On March 17th of 2024, Indian naval commandos took control of MV Ruan about 480 kilometers off the coast of Somalia and rescued 17 crew members, 9 from Myanmar, 7 from Bulgaria, and 1 from Angola. That day, Indian soldiers came flying from all directions toward the hijacked ship. Some managed to get on the hijacked ship from the Navy, some came in on the smaller boats, but craziest of all were the soldiers who literally came in flying on parachutes. This operation lasted a whopping 40 hours, but it was damn worth it. Even though only 6 pirates hijacked the ship, the Navy captured 35 of them, which means 29 more pirates joined their mates while the ship was under the eye of an Indian anti-piracy patrol warship. The later-on investigation has shown that hijacking of MV Ruan was supposed to be only the beginning of the mean plan pirates had. Pirates turned MV Ruan into a mothership which would later on be used to hijack other, bigger vessels. However, pirates didn't have one thing in mind. They were messing with the guardian of the Indian Ocean. In the end, all 35 pirates have been deported to Mumbai, where they will face justice. The fact that they used ship's crew members as a human shield and cost both MV Ruan owners and the Indian military millions of dollars only makes things worse for them. At least they got to keep their heads alive, unlike the next pirates. Number 2. Private protected cargo ship. In 2012, a group of Somali pirates with 2 speedboats tried to hijack a large carrier vessel. But little did they know that the ship was protected by US mercenaries. In definition, a mercenary is an individual who joins an armed conflict for personal profit. These men were paid as contractors to protect the ship from being hijacked by Somali pirates. The hijacking attempt took place in Gulf of Aden, which is known as Pirate Alley due to its perfect position for Somali pirates to take over ships. In the footage that was uploaded back in 2017, you can see a speedboat carrying dozens of pirates coming towards the large vessel.
The corporate.
Mercenaries, knowing what's about to happen, begin aiming their rifles at the speedboat and shooting warning bullets. But immediately after firing warning bullets, mercenaries realize that they're facing pirates who are on a suicide mission, meaning they got nothing to lose and will try to do anything just to get on the boat. In the next moment, a speedboat carrying pirates collides with the vessel and loses power, which gives mercenaries the perfect opportunity to end this fight in just a few seconds. They begin rapidly shooting, unaliving every single pirate, while their speedboat starts drifting away behind the vessel in the open sea. Just when they think the fight is over, they see another speedboat approaching them from the same direction. Knowing what they just went through, mercenaries didn't want any more casualties, so they started shooting at the speedboat from a far distance. As soon as pirates in the second speedboat saw what happened to their fellow comrades that were in the first boat, they knew they shouldn't mess with this ship, so they turned away and got lost. Somali pirates should definitely have binoculars so they see what ship they can't afford to mess with. Number 3. Tianku, Chinese merchant ship. On November 20th, 2010, pirates managed to take over Chinese merchant ship Tianku. However, these weren't those stupid pirates who try to hijack the ship with nothing but bare hands. These pirates were equipped with assault rifles, grenades, and rocket-propelled bombs. Ship's crew did everything in their power, sent a mayday, cut the engines, hid in the safety chamber, and waited to be rescued. Rescue ships from other countries were unable to reach Tianku, which was facing the rain of bullets coming from the pirates. Upon hearing this news, unlike the Indian Navy, Chinese authorities didn't want to waste minutes, let alone days or months. The Chinese Navy, along with the air support and multiple speedboats that were full of military personnel, immediately headed to the hijacked ship to face Somali pirates, wasting no time. Upon reaching Tianku, they quickly got on the ship and real action began. Chinese soldiers were carefully raiding every single room on the ship, while being extra cautious when moving through narrow spaces. Equipped with M4A1 rifles and supported with snipers from the Navy, Chinese soldiers quickly raided the whole boat and left partially disappointed. They managed to rescue the trapped crew, but found out that pirates had abandoned the ship with a small loot they found in crew cabins. As soon as they saw the menace of the Navy and the sound of helicopters getting closer to them, pirates hopped in their speedboats and got lost. However, they left traces of rocket-propelled grenades, bullet holes, and melee weapons they used. Medical team had to disinfect the ship's interior, and after the crew calmed down, Tianku continued its journey. This is exactly how one country should act when their ship is getting hijacked by Somali pirates. Why waste months when you can finish the job in a few hours? Number 4. USS Nicholas under attack. Somali pirates are often adorned by a low IQ, but the worst of all is that they're not even trying to hide it. On April 1st, 2010, a small speedboat carrying Somali pirates decided to try out their luck in the night. Their luck served them well that night, and they soon spotted a boat roaming through the waters of the Indian Ocean. Upon reaching the boat, pirates pulled out their rifles and started firing at the boat without hesitating, only to find out that they had the worst luck ever. Somali pirates realized they took on far more than what they could handle, but it was too late because the holes from bullets they fired were already ruining the appearance of the United States Navy USS Nicholas. I don't know who was more surprised, pirates when they found out they just attacked the navy of the leading army in the world, or the Navy personnel who just found out they've been attacked by the small boat carrying a few Somali pirates. One side laughed it off, while pirates got their boat blown up into the pieces. After disabling their boat, Navy personnel boarded and detained 3 Somali pirates, and a few minutes later found 2 more on the nearby mothership. The Navy spokesman didn't really know what to do with the pirates, while Doug Burnett, who's a maritime expert in the prestigious global law firm, said the five should be charged with piracy and tried in the United States. Comment down below, what would you do with the five? Don't be harsh or do. It's your opinion that we want to hear after all. Number 5. Operation Atalanta, 12.2008-04-2009. On March 29, 2009, a German Navy tanker called Spessart was attacked by 7 Somali pirates in a small boat. These pirates had no clue they had attacked the worst ship possible because this German tanker was participating in a so-called Operation Atalanta. Operation Atalanta was launched in December 2008 with a focus on protecting Somalia-bound vessels and shipments. From December 2008 to April 2009, Dutch, Spanish, Greek, and US navies were all roaming through the Indian Ocean, meaning that these pirates attacked the German tanker in the worst time possible. At the time, there were 40 crew members on the ship with additional 12 security crew members. Upon reaching the tanker, pirates immediately opened fire and attempted to board it. Tanker's security crew responded with a fire, which made pirates think again about their move, but they still decided to proceed and try to hijack the tanker. Immediately after hearing the Mayday call, Greek Navy SARA headed towards it, along with the air support from a Spanish helicopter. When they got closer to the attacked tanker, Somali pirates noticed them, and the chase began. However, it didn't last long because after a few hours, the German Navy Rheinland-Pfalz managed to stop the unlucky pirates. All 7 of them were detained and transported to the German Navy. Number 6. British Navy sinking pirate ship. The British Royal Navy held command of the sea for most of the period between the 18th to the early 20th centuries, and to this day, they're known as some of the best marine powers in the world. However, these Somali pirates who were attempting to hijack a merchant vessel in the Gulf of Aden back in 2010 learned that the hard way. A Spanish patrol aircraft spotted 2 boats possibly carrying pirates and reported them to the British Navy. Without wasting any time, the British Navy dropped 2 speedboats and the chase began. Pirates were trying to escape the eyesight of British soldiers on their underpowered boats, but this pursuit through the Indian Ocean was over when pirates saw they couldn't escape them. Pirates killed the engine, stood on their legs with their arms in the sky, and waited for British soldiers to come and get them. Upon capturing the pirates, naval officers found a bunch of equipment such as grappling hooks, rocket-propelled grenades, machine guns, ammunition, and fuel. Keep this in mind. HMS Portland, which was the name of the British Navy, blew up one of the pirates' boats. However, all 10 captured pirates were shortly released for the dumbest reason ever: insufficient evidence. How come all those grappling hooks, machine guns, and bombs don't make enough evidence? Like, what were they trying to use all that for? Number 7. Rescue of Genua 4. On December 17, 2008, a Chinese fishing boat owned by China Communications Construction was hijacked on the way back to Shanghai by 9 heavily armed Somali pirates. Rocket launchers and heavy machine guns were only some of the weapons from the arsenal of the 9 Somali pirates. Upon noticing pirates who are trying to hijack the fishing boat, its crew immediately called for a mayday. The crew knew they're about to face a big fight because it will take hours for the help to arrive. A Malaysian warship, Sri Indira Sakti, and a Malaysian military helicopter headed to the hijacked ship. But 30 members of the vessel's crew were already in the middle of a blasting fight. They were trained for these situations, and they knew exactly what to do. Crew immediately started preparing tens of Molotov cocktails while fighting back with water cannons and beer bottles against pirates who were aiming RPGs at them. After a few hours of fighting, the Malaysian military arrived and started shooting at pirates who abandoned the fight and tried their best to save their lives, which they did by successfully fleeing the scene. In the end, pirates who were heavily equipped lost the fight and no crew members were injured. Number 8. Operation Dawn 8, MV Bunga Laurel. Operation Dawn 8 was a military operation carried out by the Royal Malaysian Navy against Somali pirates in the Indian Ocean on the 20th of January 2011. On this date, 18 Somali pirates decided to try and hijack a Panama-owned, Japanese-registered, and Malaysian-operated chemical tanker MV Bunga Laurel, which was carrying almost $10 million worth of lubricating oil and ethylene dichloride. Hijacking attempt took place near Singapore, about 600 kilometers off Oman. The tanker was boarded by 7 of the 18 pirates, armed with AK-47 rifles and pistols, who came using speedboats. In order to scare the crew, they opened fire, shooting randomly. They managed to scare the crew, but instead of surrendering and becoming their hostages, 23 vessel crew members activated the ship's security alert system before taking cover in a specially designed security compartment near the vessel's engine room. The security alert system turned off all the lights on the vessel and killed main engines. Only thing crew members could do was wait for help. The Malaysian ship protection team responded to the mayday and immediately deployed a Fennec attack helicopter and 14 special naval forces in 2 fast boats to the tanker. A night passed, searching for the hijacked ship, which was hard to see in the night because the lights were shut down. But once the Malaysian authorities spotted the tanker, they immediately started firing from the 20mm machine gun from the helicopter to scare off pirates. On top of that, 14 members of Special Naval Forces got into a gunfight with 7 pirates, resulting in 3 of the pirates being injured. Once all 7 pirates were captured, authorities detained their weapons, a few AK-47s S, 1 modified AKM, and Soviet-made pistols. You wouldn't believe how diverse weapon arsenals of Somali pirates are. Pirates were aged from 15 to 35, and none of them had any kind of identification document on them. They were brought to the hospital for a medical examination after they arrived in Port Klang, and were later detained at Bukit Jalil Detention Center after the police had successfully obtained a 7-day remand order. 7 hijackers, including 3 minors, faced a possible death sentence under Malaysian law for attempting to hijack Bunga Laurel, but in the end, 4 of them got sentenced to 4 years in prison, while the other 3 were sentenced to 7 years. Number 9. NATO stops pirate attack on Norwegian ship. On April 18, 2009, a group of Somali pirates tried to attack a Norwegian tanker MV Front Ardennes, which proved to be a huge mistake. The attempt took place in the Gulf of Aden, and immediately upon noticing mean pirates, the tanker's crew called for a mayday. Luckily, the British Navy RFA Wave Knight was near the attacked tanker, and without wasting any time, they started chasing down a small speedboat full of Somali pirates. The chase lasted a few hours, and just when pirates thought the British Navy was about to give up, the Canadian Winnipeg and US Halliburton joined the pursuit as pirates were trying to flee to Somalia port of Bosaso. Pirates had a big chance to successfully flee the mess they had made, if it wasn't for warning shots. As soon as they heard bullets zooming near their position, pirates realized they couldn't escape. They stopped their speedboat and surrendered after a 7-hour-long chase. The Canadian military boarded their boat and found rocket-propelled grenades among the other weapons. On top of that, pirates had much more, which they ended up throwing into the water mid-chase. In the end, Canadians were really disappointed when they realized an arrest can't be made because they did not have legal authority to detain them, so pirates were released. Number 10. Dutch Marines free Iranian fishing vessel. In April of 2011, 18 Somali pirates attempted to hijack an Iranian fishing boat off the coast of Somalia, not knowing this attempt would cause casualties. As the vessel's crew spotted them, they called for a mayday, but no one expected for help to come so quickly. Upon reaching the attacked ship, Dutch Navy HMS Tromp immediately launched 2 rigid, inflatable speedboats without knowing pirates really wanted to keep this fishing boat. Pirates opened fire and shot at Dutch speedboats, which made the Dutch Navy really angry. Marines in the Dutch Navy returned fire on the pirates on the hijacked Iranian boat, and a bloody fight broke out. Dutch Marines took control of the hijacked ship and detained 6 pirates, while 10 of them were trying to flee in a speedboat, but they were caught too. However, not all 18 pirates got to experience the luck of being detained, because in the fight, 2 pirates got killed by Dutch Marines. Dutch Defense Ministry spokeswoman Marloes Visser said the bodies of unlucky pirates who got killed were kept in the water until it was time to transport the Somali gang to the land, because keeping them on boat wasn't practical due to high temperatures. When they reached land, injured pirates received medical treatment, but it wasn't clear yet if they would be taken anywhere for a trial. Number 11. Aris 13. On March 13, 2017, Somali pirates managed to hijack a chemical tanker registered in Comoros. This was known as the first successful hijacking of a large commercial vessel since 2012. A group of Somali pirates in 2 speedboats approached Aris 13 and quickly boarded it. Tanker's crews somehow managed to send out a mayday, but pirates had already turned off its tracking system and anchored it off Alula. They got to spend 3 days out in the ocean. On March 16th, an intense gunfight started between the pirates and the Puntland Maritime Police Force, followed by intense negotiations between the Marine Force, local gang elders, and the pirates. You may think they wanted a big buck for the ship, which they did, but they ended up refusing to take ransom. That's because they found out that a Somali businessman hired Aris 13. Don't get me wrong, they didn't surrender without ransom because they're patriotic. They did it because Somalis managed to make some kind of a deal with Somalia's powerful businessmen. Later, it was found out that the ship didn't follow the industry's best management practices, which clearly say that you shouldn't travel close to the shore at low speed because it makes the ship more vulnerable to hijacking. Number 12. SS Irene. Despite this attack taking place back in 1927, it's still one of the craziest pirate attacks of all times. And that's not because pirates managed to hijack a ship and make it disappear. It's because of a way the British Navy managed to solve the problem of hijacked merchant ship SS Irene, owned by China Merchants Steam Navigation Company. On October 19, 1927, pirates successfully hijacked SS Irene. Upon hearing that, the Royal Navy deployed their anti-piracy toys. I'm not talking about ships. The Royal Navy deployed not 1, but 2 submarines from their fleet in Hong Kong. After having some troubles to locate SS Irene, they finally found her the next morning after it was hijacked. One of the submarine crews reported seeing at least 18 pirates armed with automatic pistols. It was still dark, so the submarine called L4 was surface cruising with 1 crew at the 102 mm gun and another at the vessel's searchlight. Lieutenant of the L4 submarine Hallahan knew that torpedoes were not helpful in recapturing hijacked ship, but he did have a 102 mm deck gun. Hallahan maneuvered his submarine into position for firing, and when the order was given, the searchlight was turned on and the gun crew fired a blank warning shot at the Irene. Pirates ignored the shot, so Hallahan decided it's time and fired a live round, which blew a hole straight through the ship and killed a pirate who was standing on deck. The pirates still paid no attention and continued their attempt to make it to shore, which made Halahan even angrier. A 102 gun began firing at Irene, while the crew of the other submarine, called L5, was getting it into position for firing. Lieutenant Halahan signaled L5 that lifeboats were being lowered from the Irene and that he was maneuvering in to rescue the survivors. L5 followed in, and both submarines dispatched a boat with one officer and one sailor each to go aboard the burning Irene. The pirates on board were expecting this, and they were waiting for the British to move in close before responding, and when they did, the pirates revealed themselves from their hiding places and opened fire. Their shots were inaccurate, and they managed to kill no one but Lieutenant Halahan, good wish to save their lives. The submarines turned around so they could open fire again with their deck guns, and after a few additional shots, one struck something flammable on board the Irene, and an explosion lit up the ocean. Most of Irene's 258 passengers were saved, though 14 were never seen again. Survivors were taken on board the submarines and safely transported home. The British put out the fire, but because they had sprayed so much water into the vessel Irene eventually capsized and sank the following day. The Hong Kong police managed to filter out several of the pirates who tried to blend in with their hostages during the rescue, and 7 more were taken by L5 submarine. In the end, 17 Chinese were found guilty of piracy and hanged for it in Hong Kong. The owners of Irene tried to sue Lieutenant Halahan, but he won the case on the grounds that any naval commander has the authority to sink any ship controlled by pirates. Irene remained partly underwater for some time, but she was later salvaged and returned to duty. So that's another reason why you should never, ever mess with the British Navy. They've owned the sea for centuries and know what they're doing. In recent years, we have seen a heavy decline of piracy, however. Events like these still happen due to the lack of a central government in Somalia. You've seen it 12 times when real Somali pirates messed with the wrong navy. Let us know down below what you would like to see next. And don't forget to subscribe and click on the screen to watch the next video.